guys, this is Patty and Selena with a timeout for the Creative Mompreneur Conference. And we are here with Melissa Rogers, who is a professional organizer, a military spouse, and a formal educator. And she's going to be here talking to us about going back to school for this very abnormal year. So hi, Melissa, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming along. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So, like Patty mentioned, I'm a professional organizer and I own a company called Modified by Melissa. And we've been in business for about 3.5 years and typically have worked one-on-one in homes with clients, helping them declutter and get more organized. And this year we are just really trying to, now that we're kind of in a weird time and, our business has gotten turned on its head a little bit, we are just trying to put together some really great resources for busy moms who still need some organizing support, but maybe aren't in a place where they feel comfortable or even have the time right now to have an organizer in their home.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yes.
So also you were a formal teacher. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I like to say, in my first life, I was an elementary school teacher. That's actually, I went to school and got my bachelor's degree for education and taught for a couple years before I married my military husband. And that's when, my next life began. And I worked as a education counselor for military members actually for a while.
Oh, wow.
Helping them go back to school and get their degrees and things like that. And then in my next life, I worked at the Child Development Center on base and worked with the like 6 months to 5-year-old age group. And then now I'm in my next life and I'm a professional organizer.
Well, that is
awesome.
Amazing. That is amazing. I bet you learned so much along the way. That's really awesome.
And Melissa, what grade levels did you teach? You said elementary?
Yeah. So I taught 1st and 4th grade.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I do miss it sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now, but
I know,
maybe
right?
I'm glad I'm not in that situation right
I was about to ask you that. Are you sure about that? So how is your business doing right now? You really want to get a little, a quick update about your business with all the situation that we're going through for the past 6-7 months.
Yeah. So, being an in-home service-based business has definitely, just kind of came to a halt, back in March when stay-at-home orders really took place. And so it's really been in a transition. And we have just been trying to find other ways to still connect with clients and get them some really easy implementable steps to stay organized and just kind of survive through this, crazy time right now. But yeah, so it's definitely been in a big transition.
That's for sure. I mean, I know you have amazing recommendations by Selene because you already told me like, this is so awesome what she does. So
yeah, she's amazing.
So let's talk a little bit about what, do you have any tips for us moms on how to, what's going to happen with our new normal with schools?
Basically. Yeah. So, I am always just an advocate for moms and women in general that, we should do everything we can to make our lives easier, to simplify things, and to really, especially with organizing, just get the family involved so that everybody can have ownership and responsibility in keeping our homes maintained, and everything does not have to always just be on mom's shoulders to kind of manage that.
Amen, sister. Yeah. Amen.
I believe that.
The phrase "work smarter, not harder" came to mind. So I love that. That's pretty much it.
It's so funny because my kids' room, it's like a mess every day. So I bought them, like drawers, like plastic drawers, and then like little organizers, especially for Hannah, for my girl. because she has like little dresses for their dolls and whatnot, and it's like everywhere, and it's just kind of like, I'm like, oh my god, no, like I can't handle that. So I made her like, okay, now this is gonna be your space, you have to put it together. And she's actually like been doing it, like she's actually been able to put it together and picking it up after she plays. So yes, that's amazing that you just said that, because we do have to put a little responsibility on our kids, and not just ever have to be everything on our shoulders that we have to pick up, we have to clean after them. Like they can do it themselves as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And in all of my years of just being around kids, and even, working with some of my clients' children throughout the last few years, that is definitely one thing that I have seen without a doubt, is that kids like to have that ownership. They like to be able to, have that responsibility and take care of their own things. It's just, we've got to teach them how to do that. So once we kind of teach them those skills and we help reinforce those skills, I think every kid is absolutely adaptable to that and can be able to take care of their own space. And I think that's really awesome that you're empowering your daughter to do that, Paty, because that just makes life easier for everybody. She knows then where her stuff is. She doesn't have to keep asking you because you've been the one putting everything away, and she's taking care of it. So you don't have to be stressed about cleaning up her room.
Yes, that's been such a big help.
Such
a big help. Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What are some tips that you can give us? I know we're going to talk about 4 tips that you had for us and for our moms who will be watching this, which I'm so excited, guys. What are those tips that you can, recommend or gift us for the upcoming school year?
Yeah. So definitely, we are just in a time right now. Your kids may be back to school. They may not be back to school yet. There's so many things that we don't know. And I think sometimes that keeps us from taking action. And so the 4 tips that I want to focus on today are things that you can absolutely do right now, whether if your kids are going to be in school or learning at home virtually. There are things that you can start implementing right now to just make life easier. And whatever that transition looks like, in the coming weeks, then you're just really setting yourself up for success. So we can just kind of jump into those tips. And the first one is all about kind of setting a schedule. So again, there's so many things that are unknown right now. And I think, it's easy to kind of get caught up in, we just don't know, right? We don't know what back to school night looks like. What does Meet the Teacher look like? What is our daily schedule going to look like if the kids are going to be home virtually? Or is there, if they're going into school, what does their schedule look like? Maybe that's going to be different this year. I know, Paty, you were kind of talking about that a little bit before we started, that the school day looks a little bit different this year.
Yes. Yes, they're letting people out earlier, so they're gifting the teachers more time so they can work with the remote learners, basically.
Yeah, which is great, right? Great for the teachers. They absolutely need and deserve that time. So I'm glad that they're doing that. But that makes it to where, as the parents, we have to be a little bit more flexible to just making sure that, everything doesn't go off the rails just because our schedule is changing a little bit. So my first recommendation in reference to making a schedule is just putting everything onto a calendar. If you don't know dates yet, but you know that there's going to be certain events that are going to be coming, then at least start a list. Just start writing those things down that you know are upcoming, so you can get it out of your head and onto paper. And that is kind of just the first step in really being able to let some of that go. I think there's a real power in taking things out of your own head and putting them, somewhere else, to where it's kind of like it opens up space in your brain to where you don't have to stress about it as much anymore, because you've already accounted for it and you kind of have it on your tracking sheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
But being able to just start, annotating those appointments. And if you know that there are certain dates already, then adding that to a family calendar or somewhere where everybody can kind of have reference to it. Or, if your kids are old enough and they know their teacher said they're going to have a certain meeting on this day, they can also have access to that calendar and add it on there as they go. That is something that I think is really going to be powerful right now, in just kind of being able to feel like you're taking a little bit more control over your situation and being able to just still get a little more organized and prepared. So that's definitely part of step number one. And the second part of that is considering to create a command center. If you don't have, a command center right now in your home, that is another thing that I think is really, really powerful. And a way, again, to give ownership to everybody in the family to participate, to be responsible for their own events or things that they need to, schedule time for. And that can look like a lot of different things. You've probably been on Pinterest and searched that at one time or another. So there's so many different things that you can consider when you're talking about, design or what to include and all of that. But
where to place it even, right?
Yeah, but I think really just having a calendar, whether it's, a dry erase board or just one of those bigger size calendars that they sell, something that, has enough space each day to fill in for multiple events, because especially if you have different aged kiddos or your spouse maybe has other events or, in your own business events and things like that, you can still fit everything in there if there's multiple things happening on a day. But just having it somewhere where it's accessible for everybody, and instead of coming to you and asking you when things are happening or what's going on, or can you add this to the calendar, it allows them to go and do it themselves and really takes that pressure off of you.
I love it. I love it. It's really funny what you said, because I've been having a calendar, like a little desk calendar for birthdays, like for the spring, it was birthdays and whatnot. Or if there was like a special event, my kids are younger, but they kept asking me, how many more days, Mom? How many more days? And I'm like, oh man. So like, I just went to Target, got a $5 calendar. Here's the date. You count them. Stop bothering me.
Yes. And that's, and isn't that so empowering though? Because it's like, you don't have to stress about it anymore. It's on the calendar.
Mm-mm.
If you're that curious about it, go look at the calendar and you can see for yourself.
Oh yes, it was such a game changer and such a peace of mind for me, because it was like every 5 minutes, how many more, Mom? How many more days? And I'm like, yeah. Oh Lord. Yeah.
I love that, because if you don't know, then you're like, wait, let me check. I don't remember. I'll get back to you. And it's like another to-do list, another item onto your to-do list.
Yes.
It's there. Like one time, like Melissa said, like you get it out of your mind, you write it down, and then people can see it. So that's perfect.
Yeah. And I think, I think that's a good point to just mention too, Patty, is I like that you have birthdays and stuff on there, because, if the calendar doesn't have to just be all for school stuff, that's probably stressful for you and for your kids right now if there's a lot of unknowns. And so I think having positive things on there and things that are exciting and fun to look forward to, whatever that may be, is also really great to kind of balance that and gives them something that they can really look forward to. So I like that you include those too.
Yes, definitely. They really get excited about that.
Yeah. And another kind of pro tip is that if you want to take it a little step further, is you can kind of color code your calendar. So maybe you have back to school events are in one color, and then, extracurricular stuff, if there is anything right now, that could be in another color. You could also have a different color for each family member. So maybe, for you and your business, you've got one color, your spouse has another color, each kid has a color. Sometimes if there's a lot going on, that color kind of helps break it up and make it easier to just read at a glance. So if you, want to take it one step further and kind of make it more fun and pretty to look at, then you can do that too.
I really like that. Besides that, it's fun. It's really fun to grab your pen colors, all your pen colors, and even like the little sticky notes.
I was going to tell you. I have some here, even stickers. Like, see this little soccer stickers here? So my husband does, you guys know that my husband does like soccer games, right? So those take a big, like everything on weekends rotates around that. So that's a good example. Like when Melissa said extracurricular activities, something fun, like, well, these are for me. They're not for something for me, but it's a good visual. Like I love it. Yeah. Like I don't have a big calendar, and Aislinn can't really read yet, but I want to at some point do that. And then little things like that just by visual, even when they're smaller, they can know, oh, they know what there's it is. That happening this weekend.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think, you know, you touched on a great part too, Selene, is just the more kind of fun and excited you are about it, the more likely you are to use it, right?
True.
With anything.
Yeah.
So if you like using the stickers, then you're probably more encouraged to actually put the stickers on the calendar.
That's true.
That is
so it'll
really
be
true.
more up to date.
And it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So
True.
doing whatever you can to really get yourself excited about it, I think is also a great part in implementing, using a calendar if that's something new for you and your family. And, you know, and being able to get everybody encouraged and involved in it.
Awesome. Love it.
So that's kind of just part number one. Obviously, you know, we could dive much deeper into scheduling time, but that's kind of, in my mind, step number 1 and 2 of just getting started on that and really being able to, you know, start kind of taking some ownership back in that. So then step number 2 is talking about online shopping. So, you know, this year, typically, I think, you know, from most of the moms that I've talked to, you know, you're going into stores, you're going into Target to shop for supplies and for back to school clothes, and you're running to Old Navy, and, you know, you're doing all of these things in person. And so if this year, you know, if you are still socially distancing, and this year you're shopping online for maybe the first time, you know, I think most of us definitely have experiences shopping online, but maybe you haven't done it for your kids before, or maybe you haven't done it for supply type stuff like that, like crayons and notebooks and all of that.
Everything, yeah.
My best recommendation is to just stick to what you know. So don't go to a brand new store that you've never heard of before or that you never shopped at before, if you don't have to. You know, stick to stores that you would shop with in person, stores that you, or even if it's, you know, clothing for your kiddos, stores that you've shopped at before. Stick to the brands that you know, when you're shopping for clothes, stick to the things that you know fit your kids, and maybe you just need to size up with, you know, that pair of pants or that shirt. But really stick to the stores that you're comfortable with, the stores that you're familiar with their return policy, and just kind of really sticking in that realm so that you don't add extra stress. Don't add extra stress trying to figure out, okay, well, now I bought this shirt and it doesn't fit. It took 5 weeks to get here and it doesn't fit. And now, you know, they don't even pay for free return shipping. So I have to pay to ship it back. You know, it just can get really cumbersome, I think. So,
yeah. I love that tip because I feel like going back to just making it easier for us, and I don't think it's something that I would have thought of, you know? And I feel that sometimes we make things more complicated or we add stress factors and we don't even realize it. Like you said, like, we'll order it, it gets here, and shoot, now we're having to, you know, we just added extra stress and extra things to do because figure out the return policy because you've never shopped there. Like, just do it from one place or the places, you know. I would have never even thought of that on my own. So I'm so grateful for that tip because it makes perfect sense. Just simplify as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, you know, I'm loving how much I'm seeing stores now doing this curbside pickup. So hopefully, you know, if supplies are available, hopefully you can maybe utilize that even to where, you know, you've got a quick, you know, return situation. If you schedule it the day before, you go pick it up and you know right then and there whether it's going to work or not, and if it's the wrong size or the wrong pencils or, you know, I mean, whatever the case may be, then at least you can go to the store and return it in person, which wouldn't cost you anything. And, you know, you just have a little bit more flexibility than waiting on shipping, because I know shipping times right now too are long. So, and I think that adds stress a little bit more too, is just waiting for it to get here, you know, and then, oh, school starts this week and now the shipping date's pushed back 2 more weeks. You know, it's just more stress. And then, like you said, Selene, adding more things to your to-do list, because now you've got to figure out, okay, can I return this? Now I've got to get a box to send it back in. Now I've got to go to the store, you know, I've got to go to UPS or whatever.
Without even realizing that you just made it more complicated for yourself.
You know, and maybe the shirt was like $10, but that's $10, you know, and so it's like, you don't want to not return it, because then again, what are you going to even do with it? So it just, it just can kind of spiral out, I feel like.
Yeah, I see it. I'm just stressed out thinking about it.
Yeah.
Let's avoid that. Everything from Walmart, clothes, school supplies, we're done.
Yeah. Stick to what you know. Don't stress about it.
That is
awesome
funny.
tip. Thanks. I'm writing this down as we go.
Me too. Me too.
It's like it can be your new mantra.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Stick to what you know.
Stick to what you know. So then tip number 3 is all about routines. I think for a lot of us over the summer, things get more laxed, maybe bedtime gets pushed back a little bit. Wake up time is kind of more flexible, and that's great. But I want to encourage you, even if your kids are going to be home learning virtually, start getting back to those normal routines. I think especially if your kids are learning at home virtually, it's going to be even more essential that you still implement those routines and make sure that your kids know what is the expectation every, Monday through Friday or whatever your school days are. They know, what time is time to get up and what time is breakfast and when does school start, and all of those things are still going to be really, really important, I think, for everybody, again, to be on the same page. And once your kids know what the expectations are, then they can, again, take that ownership and really, thrive with that versus having to look to you every day to see, okay, what are we going to do now? Oh, what are we going to do now? When's lunch? It just really can take that off your plate. So sticking to those bedtime routines, sticking to those daily routines, and not every minute has to be accounted for, but even if you can just kind of generally, lay out a routine each day, and have it written somewhere. Maybe that goes by their workstation, maybe it goes on your kitchen fridge, somewhere where it's again accessible to everybody, but it really just kind of sets the expectation of what the days are going to look like, and just kind of, keeps everybody focused on that.
Awesome.
That's yes,
yeah. Or on the command center, I was thinking also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. Get a routine. It's very helpful, not just for them, but for you as well as a mom. I think it keeps you from getting really stressed, and that's what I have found for me. Like when I do have a routine with my kids, and it's just everything runs really smoothly throughout the day. I think they tend to have less tantrums, less attitudes when they know what's going to happen next. And it just makes it so easier for me as a mom. And I know when we get a Waco, when we kind of go off the routine, is everything starts, I get stressed, I get overwhelmed, I get frustrated. They have more tantrums. It's like, oh my God, okay, let's go back to that routine again, please. Because yeah, it's so helpful for the little minds. And for our sanity as well, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And excuse me, I think there's always going to be days and times where, it's just inevitable that we're going to have to go off script a little bit, and that's okay. Don't be hard on yourself, if a day just goes to crap and, nothing goes as planned, because that's just the reality of life. And especially right now, as we're all navigating this new, normal. So don't look at it as, something to judge yourself on, or pressure yourself about. But having that routine just means, okay, today didn't work out great, but tomorrow we still know what we're going to do. So let's try again tomorrow, and it's a new day and all of that, but just having that set up to know, okay, we can just reset. We're just going to reset and start again tomorrow. And here's what our routine is going to look like.
Tomorrow is a new day. That's what I keep saying. Tomorrow is a brand new day.
And we're going to try it again.
That's for sure.
Exactly. So I think that those are still really important. And, like I said, with the bedtime routines, if if our kids have gotten a little bit more laxed on times that they go to bed, and now we need to, kind of bump that up a couple hours, I think it can be really stressful and kind of frustrating for everybody if we say, okay, well, over the summer, you've been going to bed at 10 o'clock, but tomorrow's the first day of school, so now you need to go to bed tonight at 8 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's a really hard transition to make, right? They're probably going to lay there in their room or fuss or, you know, whatever for a couple hours because they're just not used to having to go to bed at that time. So if you have time now to kind of start that transition, maybe you bump it 30 minutes. Okay, you've been going to bed at 10. Now tonight we're going to do 9:30 and do 9:30 for a few days or a week, and then bump it back to 9, you know, and kind of make it more of a gradual transition. And maybe even allowing like quiet time, you know, in their room if they're not ready to fall asleep yet, you know, still getting them in that mindset where it's time to wind down. It's time for you to be, you know, kind of be independent and have time by yourself. And, you know, all those things can kind of help smooth that transition, I think, than just trying to abruptly say, okay, tomorrow's the first day of school, go to bed, you know, kind of thing. So if you've got time, and even with the daily routine, you know, if school hasn't started yet, that does not mean you can't start doing that daily routine and start getting them into that kind of rhythm of what that's going to look like and just having what that expectation is.
Yes, that I totally agree with you on that one. That's for sure. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So the last kind of tip that I have is just talking about stations. So, you know, there's different types of stations that I kind of talk about in the guide. And, you know, one of them I think that might be a hot topic is having like a sanitization station this year in your home.
Okay.
So, you know, you might want to have a place right by the main door that you come in at that has, you know, hand wipes or sanitization spray that they can spray their backpacks, or a place where they can, you know, safely put their shoes, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. You might want to just put it together in a basket and have it right there so that, you know, we don't have to run through the house to get to the wipes in the kitchen, or, you know, we're halfway in by the time we realize, oh man, we didn't, you know, drop our stuff at the door. So might want to be thinking about ways to kind of get that implemented. But then also setting up a homework station, having a place where, you know, a workstation where your kids can have a separate space for their work day. And again, just kind of, Patty, we were kind of talking about this earlier too, of just, you know, it's a different mindset when they're at school and they're in the classroom kind of mindset versus when they're at home. So there's, you know, there's ways that we can kind of still have that separation. Obviously, it's still going to be different and it's not going to probably be perfect, but there's ways that we can still have that separation to where they can kind of get into that, okay, this is my school spot. So this is, now I'm focused here and I'm going to be working on stuff. This is my, you know, these are where my toys are. This is where my play area is, or my tablet or whatever. So really kind of designating a spot in your house where they can have that focus, I think is going to be really important, especially this year. And again, you know, we can go on Pinterest and look up 100,000 different options for, you know, how to set up that home workstation, right? And I think that that's really great. I'm really visual, so I like to see that, but it can also be really overwhelming. And, you know, we're looking at all these beautiful spaces on Pinterest and dreaming about these things that just maybe aren't possible. We're probably on a time crunch. We're probably, you know, we're stressed. Obviously, so many other things are going on. And so what I would highly recommend before you maybe go on the Pinterest train is just thinking about 3 different factors about your situation that can kind of help you narrow down what your options even maybe are to begin with. And really help you kind of have a focus when you are searching for, you know, different types of desks or storage furniture and things like that. So the first one is definitely the size of the room. You know, if you are kind of creating a makeshift workspace within your living room or in the dining room or somewhere where it's a shared space, you're going to be working obviously with probably a much smaller space than if you have, you know, a loft media room, or, you know, a place where your kids already have a big designated space that's for them. So being aware of the size of the space that you're working with is kind of just a really great starting point, I think, in being realistic about, you know, are your kids going to have a space in their own bedroom where it's just each child's going to have their own space, or are you going to have one shared space? You know, obviously those kind of things factor into deciding what your layout is going to look like and what kind of furniture and things you can put in there. The second thing to think about is just the age of your kids and maybe like where they're at, you know, kind of in their educational career. So if you've got, you know, early elementary school kids, they are going to need storage that's, you know, lower to the ground and more accessible to them. They're going to need storage probably for their crayons and their scissors and, you know, a lot of those, you know, hands-on resources. If you've got a child who's, you know, middle school or high school, then maybe they, you know, they can have storage that's further up on the wall because they can still access it. Maybe they just need a spot for their laptop. You know, if they're doing all their work digitally or, you know, whatever that looks like, those two spaces are going to look probably pretty different. So just kind of thinking about that and what types of materials and things that they're going to be using on a daily basis can help you really narrow down, again, what you're going to be looking for when you're shopping or shopping your own home even and pulling things in and trying to put it all together.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So you do highly recommend, because I wanted to ask from the beginning, I kind of wrote down my question. So you do recommend a separate workspace, because I know there are some families that don't have the space, you know, like they don't have a space for them to actually put a desk, and a lot are just going back to just doing homework in the dining room or like the dining table. So what would you recommend for those people? Like maybe have like a basket that where they can put all their stuff and they can move around easier, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think, you know, you're exactly right. I mean, there's just some situations where you just don't have that extra space. Now I am always of the mindset that you can make space for things, but it's, you know, it's still going to be a challenge. So if the dining room is the easiest for you, I think, you know, that's absolutely okay. Now I think, you know, having a workspace that's like in the living room on the couch is not an ideal situation. So if you can still have more of a structured seating, you know, setup, I think that will be helpful for making sure that they stay on task. Because if they get really comfortable or if they're, you know, in their bed or something, it's easy to be distracted. So just making sure that you have a space where it's still kind of designated. It may serve multi-purposes, but it's still designated for their day, you know, their daily work time. And then, yeah, exactly like you said, Patty, you know, there's a lot of great like carts on wheels that you could use. You know, they've got like the multi-layers. So maybe each layer is a different child's materials. And you could roll it into the dining room during the day, and then maybe you can roll it into a closet at night or something where it's out of the way. I think you could even still have storage, you know, if you've got like a chest or, you know, bins or things like in the dining room. You could still have the storage there, and maybe it's just off to the side. Maybe it's, you know, or maybe there's a storage closet there that you could utilize to put all the resources in. I think it's still going to be a good idea to keep the materials close by, because if you're having them take it back to their bedroom and then bring it back every day, I think there's a lot of opportunities there for things to get lost. There's opportunity for things to maybe not make it wherever the designated space is in their bedroom. So, you know, keeping it where it's, you know, it's going to stay here. This is the spot for it. Just keeps chances low that, you know, things are going to get lost, or we're just not going to know where things are when we need them, and all of that. So if you can find storage options that are still close by that area, I think that's really going to be important.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned about if we can find like a designated space, because we know that's even true for us as adults. You know, we don't, yeah, you know, we might from time to time, if you're not feeling too well, you know, get on your laptop, you know, in bed. But we know that it's just so different when you're in a different spot. So, and we've never really had to do that for kids before, you know, because they've been in school, right? But I love that you mentioned that, because if it works, we know it works for us, then doing the same for our children, whether that's the dining table or, you know. And then I also love that you mentioned, like, look around, like shop around your house, because yeah, like you probably already have things that you can use.
Absolutely.
Like bins and baskets and whatnot that you don't need to like go out and I love the idea of like thinking through what you need before you get on Pinterest, because once you get on Pinterest, it's like all of a sudden you think you need, everything that's there.
It is a rabbit hole to go down for sure.
It can be a fun one, but also a very like, all of a sudden you're like, I need to repaint the whole house.
Yeah, and it actually kind of counterproductive because you spend so much time just looking at all the great stuff that you can't actually, you don't get to a place where you make the decision and decide what you actually need. You just get caught up in looking at all the beautiful things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be.
That is funny.
It's
that
a good tool, but
like, think it through before and see what you really need.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, Selena, you had a great point too, is just that, 9 times out of 10, when I work with clients, I always tell clients, don't buy, they think, oh, okay, you're going to come. So should I go to the store and buy all these bins and buy all this stuff? And I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't touch anything yet. Don't go buy anything yet. Let's really assess what you've got there. And 9 times out of 10, they have stuff that we just repurpose to, bring to life some new organizational systems and really kind of streamline, what's within their home already. So I definitely am of the mindset to shop within your home, because I know you've got things. I know you've got things that you thought would work for something else that ended up not working. That might be great for school supplies, or, you've got that craft cart that really you never use because you've got your own craft space and you don't move your craft stuff room to room. So now you've got this cart that you can use for your kids, school supplies and things like that. And I definitely am an advocate for that.
Yes.
Smiling about the cart because end of last year, the stores know what they're doing. They're putting on sale like all the things, and I've always wanted one. So I saw it on sale at the Container Store, and I'm like, I just need this. I need it. And then as soon as I bought it, I think we said like the first days, and it's been in the closet. But we should get started soon with Iceland and building a routine and a schedule for her and whatnot. And I'm gonna try to use it because I bought it for that purpose. But yeah, the stores know exactly what they're doing, and they're putting on sale like the items. So when it hits your inbox, you're like, yes, that's exactly what I thought I needed. I'm gonna go get it. I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Oh my God. This is all great information, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting us have you here and, give us those amazing 4 tips that, really resonated with definitely us, with Selena and I, and I'm pretty sure it's going to resonate with other moms who are going to be watching this. So if we can go back to the 4, which is setting a schedule, online shopping, so stick to what you know, setting up a routine, and then having stations.
Perfect. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. And I think, it's my kind of motto too is, progress over perfection. So don't get hung up in making some beautiful command center or homework station. It doesn't have to be a Pinterest worthy picture. It just needs to be functional. So, just take it step by step, just do what you need to do to get things up and running. And, you can always perfect it further. You can always make it more of what you really want it to be, but just do it, just get it started now so that you can really utilize it and let it help you to make your life easier and just start really, feeling like you're being able to just have a little bit, maybe more peace of mind, hopefully, over, these times that are really uncertain right now.
Yes.
A lot of things that you can do within your home to really kind of help ground you and make you feel just more at peace, I think.
That is completely true. Because I think I know me as a photographer, it's always like, oh my God, I want to make it pretty so I can take pictures. But, it gets really overwhelming because then you are not envisioning something that may not be possible at that time. And then you get frustrated and you get, overwhelmed because of that reason. And I love what you said, as long as you just get it working, as long as it's working for you and your family, it's all going to be fine. So let's not make things perfect. Let's just make things a work in progress. So
exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I love that. Do you have any questions, Selene?
No, I just wanted to mention that was such a good reminder. Like, it's so easy to, especially because everyone or most people are doing this. It's so easy to, not even Pinterest aside, like you're seeing it on social media, your Facebook, Instagram, everyone's doing this, and it's so easy to be like I'm not ready.
Oh
Or
my God, yes, like comparing, right? Like, oh my
yes,
God, this
yes.
mom is doing this. Look how pretty her
And it's
station
like,
is. And look
we
over
can't
here.
even get it. Yeah. And it's so easy to be like, I can't start. I'm not ready. So I just love that reminder, just like functionality, progress, like get started on it. So yeah, I love that. Everything you said, it just really, kept our, thinking wheels going and kind of thinking on how we're going to make this happen for our family. So
Yeah.
I loved
And I
every
think,
tip. Thank you so much for sharing.
yeah, absolutely. And I think too, I mean, especially speaking with this group of women is, we're all of that creative mindset. So I have no doubt that everybody is able to just figure something out. I mean, you had those creative juices, you'll get it, once you kind of look around your house and see what you've got, you'll be able to pull something together and it's going to be great. And, it, like you said, it may not look like the Pinterest, or the Instagram picture, but it's going to be great for you. And as long as it works for you and your family and your situation, that's really all that matters. So, just try it. Just try something. And it may need adjusting and it may need, edits as you go, because, you're still figuring out what you're going to need too. So you may not have it all, the whole space planned right away, but you can get it started and get things going. And then as you go, add things or change things. And, it's an ever evolving process.
Yes. Completely agree, sister. Completely agree.
Yes, and I know that we've seen that you have 2 guides out, right, for back to school. So you can tell us a little bit more about those. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So, so like I said, we do have the 2 guides, and the one guide which is kind of the information that I referenced from today, is kind of a remote planning guide, is what we called it. And so it's all focused on things that you can do from your home. So all those 4 steps are things that you can do without having to really go out to the stores if you don't want to. They're things that you can do within your home to just kind of get prepared for the school year. And the awesome thing is that in the guide, we dig deeper into all of that content. And then I also created like worksheet pages that you can use. So there's samples in there for a daily schedule routine. There's samples in there for a weekly schedule. There are checklists in there for shopping. There's excuse me, resource pages for, there's links to ideas for command centers and for workstation centers and all of that. So there's just so much more content in the guide, but it's really it's to give you information, but it's really to help you just implement what you need to do. So it's there to give you the information, but then to also help you take steps moving forward to actually take the action and do what you need to do within your home. So those 2 guides are available on our website, and I will share the link. You can go to any of our social media pages. We'll have a link on there too, but the website is modifiedbymelissa.com, and there's a back to school link on there where you can grab the guides. And I think that they're at a really, really affordable price. We're kind of giving it away, at a steal, because we just want to be able to get the information out to moms and get them feeling, like empowered to just take action and be able to get this school year started off on the right foot.
That's awesome. Where can we find you on Instagram or your social media? What's your handle?
Yeah, so all social media is at Modified by Melissa. Modified is kind of a funny word, I know, but it's MODIFIED by Melissa.
Okay, so modified.
Yes.
In the past tense. Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us today and giving us these amazing 4 tips. And like I just said previously, it's so helpful for us moms who are trying to figure this stuff out. We know it's really hard on our kids, with a very new normal where they're either going back to school or not going back to school. And if they're going back to school, they have to wear masks all the time. Their friends are not there anymore. So it's a very, I don't want to sound too negative. It's a very chaotic time for them in their minds. So the easier us as moms can make it for them, the easier it gets for them to, like, you know, adapt to this new normal. So thank you so much for the tips. That they really resonated with all of us, and we'll definitely be looking at you soon. We're gonna check out your website. So like I'll say, we'll check out her website with her new guide, which is www.modifiedbymelissa.com. You can find her on social media at Modified by Melissa, and go check out her new guide. I'm guessing you on Instagram, you have the link. Is the link directly linked to that, to your website, so they can find it there with, okay, perfect. So we encourage you moms to go and check her out, check her guide out. This was amazing information. So I'm pretty sure you're going to find even more amazing information in the guide. So go check her out. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Selena, do you have anything to say?
Thank you. No, just thank you. Like the tips were amazing. And I love that it's just for either virtual learners or, you know, actual, if you're going physically in person. Thank you so much for the tips. They were amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for having me today. I was excited to come and talk with busy mamas who, you know, just really, I'm sure, are killing it in their businesses and want to be killing it at home. And I think we can all just work together to make sure that happens. So I was excited to chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
See you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.